G'day guys, and welcome to a review of Rosehill for Saturday the 1st of July. The rail was out 3. Definitely a pretty usual Rosehill track where an advantage to be up there on the pace and inside getting off to the middle of the straight. Difficult to run on, especially with a few slow tempos, but wasn't impossible to run on, as we saw from horses like Gold Symphony, and that it was just a pretty normal Rosehill track. Pretty fair, really. Just if the tempo was a little bit soft, it's definitely an advantage and hard to run on, especially sustaining a run wide there. So heading into the day, first race of the program was the 2-year-old. Even tempo, and they soft tempo here. Average time, they came home okay off the back of a pretty soft tempo. Betting was a bit strange here. There was a couple of goes for some horses down in the betting all too soon, which ran well on debut, ran 4th. There was another one, I think Camp Party was well backed on track. Condor was pretty solid. The strange thing for me was the blowing of Hawala in the betting. Always looked to get that run on pace, and while Heliosphere was, especially, with tactics already talked about from the stable before the race, saying they were going to look for cover, it was always going to make its job exceptionally difficult. The betting didn't reflect that, but it kind of all worked out for Hawala, which was C, and it was a very professional win. Possibly the blinkers for the first time since it was an over-racing leader is why there was a bit of reservation about Hawala, but quickly you'll see here it sort of just lobs in the perfect position, and the race is kind of over already with the main danger back here, Heliosphere. I did like the effort of Condor, who is off the bit and chasing a bit here back in the field. Fair way out. He really hits the line pretty strongly late, and that's your 1, 2, 3 in order in running. 1, 2, 3 back the outside. The last horse runs well, gets home well for 4th. The tempo is obviously against and difficult. Clark comes wide early on Heliosphere after that back slow tempo and tries to put him into the race. He's forced to sustain a long run while Hawala's got there all under his own steam. Shows some nice acceleration when Bowman pushes the button. Race is over. Condor whacks away strongly. Looks like he wants a bit further already. And Heliosphere is entitled to get tired after maintaining that wide run. The first started down the outside all too soon. A little bit of a concern for me that when Bowman shut the leader down, it did shut down quite quickly, so possibly 1400's probably all I'd be confident about backing him over at this stage, but it's not to say he won't get further in the future. I just thought he shut down pretty quickly when he dropped his hands late, which is not always a great sign that the horse had a huge reserve of energy, but he did the job well and showed good acceleration and a very strong and professional win. So going forward, Hawala definitely going very well and probably can hold this form again. I wouldn't see why not. Condor, definitely a horse to follow going up in distance all too soon. Maybe back grade or touch up in distance, but it's still a really good debut for a 1400 metre race. And Heliosphere definitely looks a next time in horse. It'd be interesting to see where they head with him now, whether they keep him up and going or put him away and bring him back for another preparation. Race 2, even tempo. They ran good time here. I thought they might just go a bit slower than they had previously for Just Dreaming, which seemed to really suit her tough nature. And when Bowman came around on high mist early and injected a bit of tempo into the race after them really crawling through the first part, I thought that may play into the hands of the leader, but fortunately they just went slow enough for Insensata to just out-sprint her that little bit, and she didn't have the chance to pick herself up and fight her off. It's another really good effort from Just Dreaming. The horse is just absolutely flying. Sensata absolutely flying as well. Found a nice setup here and can go on to win a similar race without doubt. I thought Lope to Lope was handled pretty poorly and should have held a position early and was a complete forgive, even though it was beaten a long way. I just thought it got uncomfortable once it was crossed, and it's only pretty immature still. And showing here, there's just no pace here, and he had the chance to kick up and make that race his own here, and instead he hands up to Bowman. And this is where I thought maybe Just Dreaming might skip along a bit quicker, which it did inject a bit of pace in the race, but probably the faster they went, the better for the leader. While Lope to Lope sort of getting dragged back here, horse is inside and out, lost, and he drops the bit and kind of digs his toes in. It's a bit of a shame. But the two leaders were dominant. High Misters just doesn't seem to be racing as well as it was last preparation, and the rest were well beaten. First two flying, both can win again. Just Dreaming's a real bulldog. Well, I really like it as a horse. It's going to find races with high pressure that it's going to run well in. But a pretty straightforward race to review. Next race, really slow tempo here. Thought there were another couple of little errors at the start that may have cost horses, especially Walk the Streets, possibly the race. I know it had a pretty run throughout, but I just wanted to see it in control of the pace. Looks a really one-pace type that was suited up to this trip, but really needed to dictate a little bit more than it did. Thought if they had just crossed here, it didn't look like anyone was really wanting the front. That Celestial Choice, I think it's called, would have given the front up, which would have allowed Walk the Streets to dictate her own tempo, take off when she liked, and then there may have been a different outcome to the race. As it was, they went really slow. Hayward came around and did his thing. Celestial Choice comes out and gives it cover, but I just thought that instead of Celestial Choice having the dream run, Walk the Streets would have got it. Rustic Melody ends up camping on it and just out-sprinted a touch in a drive home, which is not really to Walk the Streets' liking for mine. Still, they had their chances up front, there's no doubt about that, and the ones back in the field were definitely the ones penalised by the slow tempo up front. Domed the clear stand out of those that ran on. Really good effort. The horse definitely right on the up. Even I Fly Away is just a complete forgive. They've walked up front and dashed home. And Domed the clear most pace affected runner in the race that's done a good job to get as close as she did, 3.5 lengths. Walk the Streets again, another race if it can dictate the tempo. I think it's ready to win, but it's not a horse that looks like it's going to be dominant in a race unless it bowls along and takes off and makes it a real test from the 6 or 800. When it's had a good time of it in front, it's not going to win race by a long way, but it's racing well. Rustic Melody's back on track, but really does need every chance in its races to get home. And Dome's a horse that definitely looks like it's ready to win something similar over same sort of trip straight away. Highway race, not going to spend too much time on it. I thought It's a Fate Accomplishment was one of the leading chances coming into the race. Was a little bit concerned about the rider. He hasn't had a lot of riding recently, but he did put a good effort in here, and the horse was just too strong. Looked at a strong one-space type. Our Cubano runs well back and is ready now for similar, I think. I'll just show you its run. Last try wins was a bit unlucky, but it was suited by a fast tempo, and even though it was held up and a little unlucky, it was probably a little bit flattered the other way, so I wouldn't be diving into it next start. It's a horse that needs all its luck, and its lottery was a really solid effort, I thought, coming wide and just dying on its run a little bit late. Possibly just has to drop back a grade to be winning again. But they obviously run along at a fast tempo here. Lordy had absolutely no luck and a complete forgive. Not sure why Mr. Marmalade was in this race. It needs to drop back in distance. It's a Lottery came with a winner. This is Life's Try wins back here with our Cubana, who just got a little bit lost on the turn. Barbas, every possible chance, just whacked away. I really think Mr. Marmalade's going well, and he's a nice horse. He's just been put in some strange races. So for me, the winner's definitely a horse that can be followed. He's done a lot of work. He's at the front early. He's strong. These two were the pace-assisted runners, or this was given a great ride and just whacked away. This horse was pace-assisted even though he was held up. It's a Lottery's come down with the winner, and nice gap behind is probably the one that's going to be the value next time out in something a little bit easier, hopefully. And our Cubana first run up to this trip has done a good job. It would have taken, plenty out of it off a fast run race to be going up in distance here. So two good jobs here that might be the value runners next time, and the winner's the one to follow, as in it's the one with all the upside in the race. Race 5, very slow tempo, really good rides on the first two horses. Third horse is whacked away, not a lot to learn here. They were just clearly superior to the rest. Watch Montauk's chase the winner, chase the leader. Favourites on its back, Gallic Chief, eventual winner. The third horse is back second last and not suited by a 6 sprint under the big weight. But Montauk did his best. It just doesn't quite run out that trip, whereas the winner's a superior stayer, there's no doubt about that. And Destiny's Kiss is definitely going very, very well again. They were dominant over the rest. Not a lot to be learned at all there. Gaelic Chieftain's definitely a horse of the future, probably the one least suited to a fast tempo there, apart from maybe Destiny's Kiss, and was strong late on the line. It's going to go up in trip or same trip or go wherever it likes. I wouldn't be scared about backing it in a staying race anywhere at the moment. I don't see too many stronger stayers around, so it's a horse to follow for sure. Montauk back in trip, and Destiny's Kiss will just keep doing his best honest job that he always puts in. Race 6, even tempo here, good time. They ran along a little bit, but they've run good time, so never really slowed down. Magic Olive always been a bit susceptible second up, and always 1200's about as far as you want, so good effort here. They tested each other definitely up front here, and Memes has had to take a sit, which is something she's never done before. Got over racing a touch. Did get the split at the right time, but not her thing to really chase runners, so she's done a really good effort. She's put in a really good effort, strong effort here to lead to the post. Magic Alloy just gets her on the line. Heady Heights nabs third on the line. I thought Fickle Folly's effort was probably her best run this preparation, out to 1200 metres and leading a fast tempo. Nudie Rudy every possible, upscale every possible, and the ones down the outside were a little bit pace assisted if anything. Heady Heights a touch flattered to grab third, but I'll forgive her because she was first up and did present a bit burly and with plenty of improvement, so she's an interesting horse going forward, but just be a little bit concerned that it shows a third where she could have easily finished, 5th, 6th, 7th coming in. All the merits with the first two. Magic Alibi's obviously flying. I'd love to see her back to 1100 next start, and she'd be very hard to beat again. And Memes is just holding her form very well. Who wants to sack out of that? Upscale and Nudie Rudy for mine at the moment. Race 7 and Class kind of prevailed here. They've run good time. They've also run along, which helped it get over the top of them late. I thought the Monstars effort was really good, led and softened up a touch and kicked on strongly. Slightly Sweet, who did come into this off the back of a strong effort, was just held up a bit and ran good. And Invincible Knight was okay first up in this grade, first effort in this grade. The tempo did help a touch, but it wasn't as if it was a lightning tempo, and it did come from well back and wide here. So the winners back here, fourth last. Monstars leading at a solid tempo and really putting in a a good effort to be headed here and fight on strongly. Shiraz had the right run and just couldn't quite finish off. Up the inside, Zabakis as well had its chance up through the fence and a bit soft. Gold Symphony is just clearly superior late. See Invincible Knight coming up the outside, and Slightly Sweet, who was held up a touch, battling on well on the fence. Hard to make excuses for any of the other runners, really. They just really did have their chances. Nothing too exciting here to learn. One second, sorry. Too many calls coming in at the same time. Lucky Last. Sorry, it's the 8th race. And pardon me. They set a fast tempo here, really good time. Splash was obviously very well backed. Calander solid also late, dropping back in grade and distance. That really fast tempo really did help Calander, I'd say, here more than Sir Plush, who'd put in a really career best effort first up and obviously was just a little bit flat compared to that second up. Whereas Calander was just hard fit, tough, and appreciated the fast tempo a bit more that last bit. Highly Geared's run a really strong race in front. She's just a mare that loves that high bowling at a solid tempo, and she just tired a little bit late, but did her absolute best. King Darcy first up, a good effort, I thought. Top Striker, a really good effort first up, and probably the smoky run of the day was this horse, Classic Uniform. I really loved its effort and how it found the line late. Oxford Poet, no knock either. I think this is going to be a really strong form race with these horses heading to different targets around the place over the next couple of weeks, but they can all run really well if placed to advantage.
250 Sir Plush, Calander in starter's hands. Off the inside left well, Highly Geared beats it for speed though, coming across as Oxford Poet from the deep. Prince,
solid tempo. So the horse that I want to watch late is Classic Uniform back here. The winner's back on the fence. Sir Plush every chance outside it. Top Striker's a really good run here, wide and pulling. Ends up wider. Not an easy position out here when they're running such solid time, especially first up. I'll be a little bit concerned about chiming into him second up just because he's had probably a tough run here, Top Striker, but he's definitely come back in solid form and ready to go. Oxford Poet, good, working outside the lead. And Classic Uniform late. Calander coming through the middle. King Darcy finishing up along the fence first up. Just a bunch of good runs here, I thought. See Top Striker just getting off the track, getting a bit tired late, and Oxford Poet still right there off a couple of good trials after sitting outside the leader. Calander just too strong with the preparation he'd had. Wouldn't it be nice as up there? Is also hard fit. It's probably one of the ones that I just want to be a bit cautious on, but I really like this effort from Classic Uniform down the outside, finishing on the heels of Top Striker over 1100 metres first up. He's in for a good preparation. So is Oxford Poet, who really just not entitled to still be there first up, considering he sat outside a fast tempo and really battled on well. So Plush, every possible chance, but possibly a little bit flat, and the winner just too strong. And look at King Darcy tugging through the line there, how he sort of takes off. He's obviously flying, this horse, and he'll be ready to go next time. Lucky Last, and a race of slow tempo, a lot of forgives here. Kingsguard leads all the way, soft tempo, lay down the law behind it, every possible chance, and probably flooded a touch. Reneg sat outside the leader, so don't want to knock it, but also had its chance. Cars off the well back favourite, got back midfield and back in distance, was always going to face a tough task with a sprint home. Similar to Pick Me Up, who I think needs to go back in trip and a soft draw, Complete forgives to King Viv, Speed Hero and Obsidian, all not suited by the slow tempo here. Quick look at the race. So Reneged heads up outside the leader. They run 1, 2, 3. Play down the law, the sweetest run. Kingsguard was prepped to run here, run well here. He was sort of peaking fitness wise and had the good run. Magical Stance, who was back and wide, sort of works around them, wide, and working throughout. He's never been a lucky runner, and nothing changed here. Pick Me Up's out here wide. His effort's okay. I really think he struggles to run this sort of trip out. And then the Forgive runners are back. Speed Hero, Obsidian, King Viv coming through the middle. Cars Off really did a solid effort to finish where it was. Produced a solid effort. The three in front just had the race well and truly in their keeping before the turn and sprinted away from the rest. So Kingsguard obviously needs a good setup in his races when he finds them. He runs well. Reneged drew poorly there and may have cost him the race. If he got a slightly sweeter run, he might have been able to sprint over the top of them, but still had his chance. Lay Down the Law is the one I'd be a little concerned about following. Cars Off back up in distance or on a more solid tempo is a tick. Pick Me Up back in trip, softer draw, and he's ready to win. Magical Stance is a horse that needs things to go right. Nothing went right there, and he's racing well. King Viv's racing extremely well, not suited at all here, and these two, Speed Hero and Obsidian, are both Forgive runs as well. Just back and everything against them. So thanks for that, guys. Looking forward to this week. Warwick Farm, I believe. Noms look good. Wednesday looks okay. So good week ahead. Thank you.